Hello, everyone. Jax West from Stephen Avery Project, Justice with Jax, MAM Gossip. Today, we are going to discuss the Melissa Calusinski case. Not talking about any other cases today. Don't ask me what does this have to do with Stephen or Brendan. MAM Gossip covers many other cases, Melissa Calusinski being one of them. Yesterday was Melissa's 34th birthday. So we thought we would do a live today and talk about Melissa's case. If you do not know of her case, you can go to, let me put it in over here. Putting in, hello, Audrey. So if you go to Kathleen Zellner's website, and then you click up top on cases, you will see she's got on the left side is highly publicized active cases. Then you've got Melissa Calusinski is listed after Ryan Ferguson. So here is the link that I am sharing in this live on her Melissa page. When you look on her page, she's got the last time we were in court. Is that really the last time we were in court was 2018? Holy cow. But so you can watch Kathleen in action as they've got that whole day up there. And then also there's links to watch 48 Hours. They covered Melissa's case twice, one called The Fight for Melissa and one called Blaming Melissa. So the links to those are right there. Then she's got a link where you can read the state's brief and a link where you can read her brief. All right, so then, hello, Krista. Let me just read what she has written here as the case overview. Calusinski was found guilty in November 2011 of first-degree murder in the January 2009 death of 16-month-old Benjamin Kingen, who was from Deerfield. This is in Illinois, in Lake County. Hello, Bryce. She was sentenced to 31 years in prison and has been incarcerated, well, it says there for 6 years, so it's been a long time since they've updated it because Melissa is now going on 12 years. Quote, Calusinski, who has no history of violence and had absolutely no motive to harm Ben, was convicted based on irrefutably false medical evidence offered by the state's testifying experts, unquote, according to the motion filed by Calusinski's attorney, Kathleen Zellner. And then she's got a whole bunch of links to different press about the case that you could click on and read about. And then the last thing is a post-conviction petition that you could read. She's also got a link to a justiceformelissa.com. But that's not for Melissa Calusinski. This is for somebody named Melissa Hunt. So that's a mistake on Kathleen's part to have that link on there. So, Melissa Calusinski. Let me get my pictures of Melissa. Okay. Those are all the pictures I have of Melissa. So, what was my... Oh, that's Marnie, not Melissa. Okay. I think this was my first visit with Melissa. And then there's this one. And that one. All right. So let's get into the case. Melissa worked at a daycare. So did her sister, Crystal. Melissa had worked at a different location for this daycare. Um, but then she got transferred and she was working at this one that her sister Crystal also was at. She was in the toddler room. Ben was 17 months old, I believe, and he's also a twin. He's got a sister. He was sitting on the floor in a bouncy chair, and Melissa turned and looked at Ben, and he was turning blue and foaming at the mouth. Hello, Debbie. So they called 911. Crystal tried to resuscitate Ben. Ben was later pronounced dead at the hospital. People who worked at the daycare were brought into for questioning. They were all separated and brought to different, even police departments. So Crystal and Melissa were not together. Melissa was questioned for hours and hours and hours. And that's something you can Google. Let me see if I can do that on here too, or if somebody else can beat me to it. Melissa Calusinski interrogation. Okay. Here's the first thing that comes up when I Google it, that you can go watch for yourself, her interrogation. But that Melissa says time and time again, she didn't do anything. And just like Brendan Dassey, they just wear her down. Melissa has a low IQ. She's impressionable. And so Melissa, a lawyer was asked for, but they ignored that. At one point, Melissa had called her dad. And so while her dad was on the phone, her dad could hear the Lake County Major Crimes Task Force referring to Melissa as a bitch, which sends Paul through the roof that, they're talking about his daughter like that. And Paul was also demanding they stop speaking to her. And they ignored that. So, like Brendan, they convince Melissa to say what they want her to say. And they say things like, we know it was an accident, just say it was an accident, and, it'll be all right. So then they have Melissa saying that she dropped Ben. And then they're having Melissa show you how she dropped him. So they give her a doll and she's like, well, like that. And so just know that the science doesn't add up in any way, shape, or form on how they're having Melissa claim that she dropped Ben. Okay? That's there first and foremost. Melissa, again, like Brendan, she had said at one point how she just wants to get home to her parents and her puppy. She thought she was going to go home. She had no idea in saying what they told her to say that meant she was going to be in custody and not go home for, going on 12 years now. She had no clue. The evidence. So you need to know that the Lake County Major Crimes Task Force is corrupt AF. Hello, Amanda. Hope you're feeling well. And hello, Cindy. Lake County is the wrongful conviction capital. The Marnie Yang case that we've talked about in the past. There's the Juan Rivera case, who Juan is freed, is from Lake County. I mean, you can Google wrongful convictions, Lake County, Illinois. Lake County Major Crimes Task Force is involved in both Marnie and Melissa's case. Yes, you can write to Melissa, Amanda. At some point, I will go over the address for her, and it is posted in here, Amanda. There is a picture in Gossip that has the address to send Melissa a card or a letter. So it is just known that George Falenko and the Lake County Major Crimes Task Force are going to do whatever they have to prove their narrative. So what they did is they doctored and had whoever were the medical people lie. You know, when they testified, they lied and said that they saw blood on Ben's head and that in the x-ray there's a crack, trying to claim that Melissa dropping him or throwing him to the ground that they're claiming in anger, which is something Melissa would never do, caused this crack in his head, which killed the little boy. When the state gave the x-ray to Melissa's lawyers at the time, which was not Kathleen Zellner, it was just completely blacked out. Let me see. Melissa Calusinski X-ray. If you Google that, oh, I've got my iPad here too. Let me Google it on my iPad so then I can just pull the picture up on here. Melissa Calusinski X-ray. Hold on. Now I clicked on the picture to try and blow it up and it's pulling up the actual story. Will I be able to get the picture or no? No. Hold, please. All right, so I'll just do this because I don't want you to see the actual picture that's next to it. So you see that? So it's just all white. You can't see anything. There's nothing on there to show anything. That's the x-ray. And also when you look at that, whoops. No, get back. It's also doctored the shape of the kid's head. Okay? Because this is the real x-ray that they don't get until years later, where you can see the kid's head looks like a giant light bulb. So what really happened to this poor boy is he died because his brain was swelling. No, not talking about Stephen's case today, Wendy. We're talking about Melissa Kalusinski's case today. Before Melissa worked at that daycare, Ben was brought into the daycare with a big lump on his head. And the daycare said, no, he can't come in here without seeing a doctor first, because the daycare doesn't want to be responsible, be liable for somebody to claim that um the kid got the bump on the head in their care. So Ben was brought to the doctor for the bump on his head, and the doctor said the kid was fine. So let me turn that sound off, sorry, because it's just going to keep going off now. So that was it a month and a half prior? So here we are, month or so later, when now the kid is lethargic, and then he's turning blue and foaming at the mouth. And when you see what the actual x-ray looks like, the kid's head looks like a giant light bulb. The other thing you'll notice from that x-ray is there's no crack. There was no fracture in Ben's head. So everyone who testified to that previously lied. They said they saw blood. From what? There's no fracture. There's no cut. There's just swelling. You look at the x-ray. No fracture. But Melissa was found guilty by just that one x-ray where they've thinned the head down so you don't see that it's the light bulb shape, and you see nothing. Absolutely nothing. You can't see there's a crack in that first picture either. But it's one of those things, that blue line that we're going to defend at all costs. So Lake County Major Crimes Task Force is saying Melissa Calusinski is responsible. So we're going to make the evidence fit the narrative, as opposed to following the evidence to the truth. How did Ben get the original bump? Well, we know some things that I'm not allowed to say. But just know that we know some things about the bump on his head. When did he get the bump on his head? When Melissa didn't even work at that location. She was somewhere else. So this case completely comes down to doctored evidence, lying law enforcement. Poor little boy dies. Yeah, people want to know what happened to him. That's horrible. Accidents happen. But to keep Melissa for hours in the tiny room using the Reed technique on her, ignoring when a lawyer is asked for, and forcing her to confess that when you watch her interrogation, you'll see, like Brendan Dassey, she takes it back immediately. And for that, Melissa has been in prison for going on 12 years. She is the sweetest person you will ever meet. Loves children, loves animals, loves her parents. Her parents are her world. She and her dad have such a special bond. Her dad used to own a bait shop. And so Melissa would help out at the bait shop. And, so there's jokey stories that get told all the time too. Like Melissa's sister Crystal would sometimes work there too, but Melissa doesn't want to touch the worms or the fish or anything like that, nor would I. So I'm not hating on Crystal for that. I'd be the same way that I would want a glove on or whatever, and Melissa didn't care. Um, you know, um, and then she grew up with her dad is a total prankster. Paul loves scaring people. And he used to put up a haunted house at their house, use their whole driveway and yard and their garage. And Melissa would help her dad with all of that. But then also, Paul really enjoys scaring his family. Doing things. There's tons of those stories of things that Paul did to these poor people for his own amusement. Um, and Melissa's birthday being in October, because her birthday, like we said, was yesterday. She loves Halloween. She loves going to haunted houses. I ran a haunted house for years, and funny thing is Melissa remembers as a kid going to my haunted house with her dad. Um, her favorite movie is Killer Clowns from Outer Space. She loves The Walking Dead, so she was really excited about, the new spin-off from The Walking Dead premiered last night on her birthday. So she was making plans she'll usually just and Melissa's not somebody who sits still. That girl, she likes to bleach the walls of her cell and her ceiling of her cell like every week. I mean, she's just clean, clean, clean. There's not a lazy bone in her body. But for her birthday, she was saying she was going to just lay in her bed all day and watch the marathons on AMC of The Walking Dead. I don't know if it was also Fear the Walking Dead, and then going into the new series. So she was quite looking forward to that. She loves watching all the movies, the 30 Days of Halloween. So this is her month. But so as for her case, like I said, you could watch the 48 hours episodes of Blaming Melissa and Fight for Melissa, and that will show you, and that will show you Kathleen Zellner at work as well in those. But it just basically comes down to she was in the room when this poor boy, his brain swelling for however many weeks it had been since he got that original bump on his head. The swelling now took the boy's life, and she's just the person who was there, and so she's got to go down for it. That's what they not going to say, oh my God, this was an accident, a tragic accident or they don't go after that original doctor that the kid was brought into when he had the bump on his head for, why don't you see that the kid is lethargic and his brain is swelling? Why didn't you do we need a follow-up to make sure his brain isn't swelling? So nobody's going after that doctor. Let's go after Melissa. She was 22, I think. Don't make me do math. She just turned 34. So, let's go after this young, sweet girl. She's beautiful too. You can't tell from these pictures. But she likes to play with makeup. And there'll be times when I visited her and her makeup is just so pretty on what she does with her eyeshadow and such. And she's like, I don't do this for anybody else. I do it for me. She enjoys makeup, and she enjoys trying different colors and doing all that. Of course, when you see pictures of her that the state puts out, they're going to put the most disgusting, ugly pictures of Melissa. Going through all this stress, her face broke out. So there's pictures of her with her face all broken out and all that. And no, this is Melissa. She's beautiful. And she's also dealing with in prison, she's got very sensitive skin. And whatever they use in the prison, she's she itches all the time. And on our visits, I will see a rash suddenly appear on her neck. So you'll get a red blotch, and maybe by the time the visit's over, it'll be gone. But yeah, so she has that to deal with on top of everything else. But the only thing they have on Melissa is the forced confession and their doctored x-rays. Here's what happened though, okay? So Dr. Rudd became the coroner of Lake County. And he was asked to now look at this case that he wasn't on originally. Dr. Rudd is one of Melissa's strongest supporters. He then changed the death certificate from murder to undetermined when he saw the real x-rays. What happened to Dr. Rudd? The Lake County Major Crimes Task Force and their buddies in blue went after Dr. Rudd and prosecuted him for when he was running for re-election. We've gone over this before, and I don't want to get into politics, but when you're running for office, whether or not you're running for re-election or you're new to the ticket, first thing you have to do is you have to get a petition signed by X amount of people, each position, and depending on it, if you're running for a Republican or a Democrat, your numbers are lower than if you are running for an independent. That's why independents will then run as a Republican or a Democrat, because it's an easier path. And then there's constant games that are played with the signatures, that signatures will get tossed. They'll say that they'll come up with whatever reason to say this isn't an accurate signature. Before petitions are turned in, the pages have to be notarized. All right. The actual candidate is the one that is supposed to get these notarized. Well, a couple of the pages in Dr. Rudd's petition, he was not there when they were notarized. And so they went after him because that's a crime. And Dr. Rudd's like, "Oh, I'm very sorry. That was an error. We'll just toss those pages," because that's another thing when you're running. If you need 300 signatures, you're going to get 900. Because a bunch of your signatures are going to get tossed. So you always get double to triple depending on your race, on how hostile you think it's going to be. So Dr. Rudd said, "All right, we'll just toss those pages." Nope. Then he said, "All right, then I won't run as a Democrat. I'll run as an independent," which will make it a really tough road for him. Because also, if you have already signed a petition for a Democrat, you cannot sign an independent's petition. You can only sign one per race. So, no, they went after him. So he can no longer be a coroner because they prosecuted him and he was found guilty. Now, I attended over a year ago now. I went to Dr. Rudd's clemency hearing. He was trying to get our governor, which I'm actually wearing his shirt, JB, to pardon him, to give him clemency, because he needs that to be able to run for coroner again. So we went to court for that, and just like we have in most of our cases, there's no deadline. They can take as long as they want to consider it. So there's been no ruling on Dr. Rudd's clemency petition. So this good man who actually looks at the evidence and wants to be the voice of the victim is not allowed to be the coroner. Why? Because he overturned the death certificate in Melissa Calusinski's case from murder to undetermined. So that's all they have in Melissa's case. Her coerced confession, watch it for yourself, and a doctored x-ray that they claimed that they had seen a fracture and saw blood, and they gave the defense an x-ray that you can't see anything on at all. And then when you see the real x-ray, you see the kid's brain is swollen. His head, he looks like a giant light bulb. We are stuck in Melissa's case, waiting for a hearing date that she was supposed to have months ago. But due to COVID, it keeps getting pushed back and back and back. So there is no date scheduled at this time. Melissa is really hoping she'll get to hear something this month. She would love to be home by Christmas. Melissa is very into her Catholic faith, and Christmas is a big holiday for her. While she has been in prison, both of her grandmothers have died. They did not allow her to go to any services. They said it was too expensive and too much of a risk, so she wasn't able to go. Plus, so her grandmothers died in the same year, and so did her dog, Oreo, who was that puppy that she wanted to get home to. Melissa's father, Paul, has quite a few medical problems himself. Her sister, Crystal, has had 2 children that Melissa has never gotten to meet. So much of her life has been stolen. And Victoria asks, why do Americans put up with such corrupt systems? It's hard to fight it. It's so hard. I mean, Melissa's dad, you'll see if you watch those 48-hour specials, you'll see that he organized marches. Paul lives and breathes this case. Not a day goes by that Paul isn't doing something to try to free his daughter. Melissa has a whole lot of people behind her. I mean, look, she's got Kathleen Zellner. She's had Kathleen Zellner since before she took on Stephen's case. You know, but all right, so Melissa's been in prison going on 12 years. What's the number Kathleen says how long it takes her to free somebody? Typically 12 years. That's when she gets the case, not how long they've been incarcerated. I don't know what year it was that she took on Melissa's case. I don't recall. But that again, Victoria, is just our system is so bad. It is so easy to lock somebody up and takes forever to get them back out. It's really ridiculous. The Dr. Oz show covered Melissa's case a few months ago. You would be able to find those videos in the videos here in MAM Gossip that we did a live watching the Dr. Oz show together. There is supposed to be another episode because they had filmed Dr. Oz had sent a reporter to Melissa's prison and they interviewed her at the prison. So, and they were holding on to that episode for their new season. We had been told it was going to air at the end of September, and it didn't. So, we're still watching the schedule for when Dr. Oz will be showing Melissa's case, and we're still waiting for a new hearing date. I mean, I believe, when was it supposed to be? I think originally it was supposed to be February. And then it got pushed back and pushed back. And now we're at where there's not even a date set due to COVID. So who cares? It's just more time Melissa gets to sit in prison. Her prison has had tons of cases of COVID. The officers were not wearing masks. They're not giving them cleaning supplies. They're not being able to regularly have commissary. Have not had any visits, so I last visited Melissa in March, and it was right before Illinois was about to go on lockdown. So, like, on my last visit with Melissa, I had to, in walking into the prison, I had to sign a paper where they were asking questions of, do I have a fever? Have I been around somebody with a fever? Have I left the country? Have I been around somebody who's left the country? So I believe after that visit, it was either the next week or two when they stopped all visits. So Melissa hasn't been able to have a visit since March. Can't see her family. She does talk to her parents regularly, but there are times too during this COVID that they're keeping the phone away from them. Melissa, I have been emailing with her quite a bit, so I email with her 2 or 3 times a week. So luckily those emails are going through pretty fast because they have to get read and approved before it's sent through. So sometimes that stuff could take a while. But luckily the emails are going pretty fast. So Melissa, when's the last time I got an email from her? Let me go in there now. Their email website too is like the worst. Because see, I went to click on now to go into the email and it logged me out, and then you have to sign in again. It's so ridiculous. October 1st was the last email. Let me click on it and see if there's anything I can share with you from her email. So her first paragraph is because I sent her a cross necklace and some pictures, and so they're not there yet. And so she says, you never know what'll happen here at this mailroom. And she says, but thank you so much. I really appreciate you. And then in email before that, she had asked me if I could order her cards. That she wants to send Halloween cards out to people, and then she also wants to send out thank you cards to people that will be wishing her a happy birthday or whatever. And last year she had ordered cards and they never got to her in time. So she gave me the information on her order. And so she asked me if I could cancel her order and get her money back. And I was able to. So now this time she was just going directly to, can I just order these cards for her? So I called the prison to ask for the rules on sending her cards because I thought it would be really cool if I could have Jeff make personalized cards for her. So, with her favorite movie being Killer Clowns from Outer Space, I was going to do Halloween cards with that. And then for thank you cards, there's this gorgeous picture of Melissa where she's making a heart with her hands. And I was going to have that on it for her thank you cards, but they told me no, it had to come from um, a specific vendor. So I ordered her the cards, and so I had emailed her and told her the cards were on the way. Oh, and she's only allowed 2 orders of cards. So I said, okay, so I sent those to you, and I'm assuming you'll want Thanksgiving and Christmas cards. So once you get these cards, let me know, and then I'll order you the other ones. So she says, yeah, it sucks that we have to order them. And yeah, Thanksgiving and Christmas, yes. Tell Jeff I appreciate him, even though he can't make personalize the cards. Thanks again. Um, I had talked about how I think it's so sucky that COVID is ruining Halloween for kids. And she said, yeah, it's so sad. Like, it's not the same with Halloween. This COVID sucks. So hopefully, when I'm out and home, we'll be able to do some sort of haunted house. Because I've told her when she's home, I used to build a haunted house forever. Oh, I will so do some kind of haunted house for her. Um, she says, but like how it's supposed to be, not the COVID freeway. And then she says, I'm watching Halloween right now. LOL. Love it. She says, yeah, this weather really sucks right now, and it's super chilly out. I hate it so much. It's like November weather. But they did say Weather Channel here, which Melissa wants to be a weather forecaster. She is really interested in the weather. So I love talking to her about the weather. Now, her weather and my weather are different because, I'm up here by Chicago, and she's more, she's not Southern Illinois, but she's down near there, so her weather um is nicer typically than it is up here. But I still like to talk about the weather. So she says, but they did say Weather Channel here that it should warm back up into the 70s next week. Oh, I'm not talking about that. I'm skipping that one. Um she says, I can't wait till I come home. I'm ready. Haven't seen any of your faces, and I miss every one of you guys. I'm hoping at very soon to come home. I'm not going to read that one. Um, she says, I hope you're doing okay and staying safe. Yeah, not much on my birthday. I'm just going to relax and stay in bed, mainly all morning watching AMC, LOL, and call home, but nothing extravagant. And I'm off Sundays because she does work at the prison. So yeah, I can't believe I'm gonna be 34. Wow. Hopefully be home to celebrate the next one and possibly a party. Well, you have a good night, and thanks again. I appreciate it, and I'll talk to you soon. Stay safe. And then also in my response to her, I said, oh, when she comes home, I'll throw her a birthday party for every year that she missed her birthday. Oh, nice, Bryce. 58 outside. It's 61 up here. So it's not bad up here right now. And it's supposed to be a gorgeous week. Um, but so that's Melissa. She's really sweet, and she cares so much about her family, and she's very appreciative of all her supporters. She told me she recently got a card from Miley, and that she loved the card and that she would be responding to Miley soon. So let me pull up, or maybe it'll be easier if I just do pull up the picture on my phone for the address for writing to Melissa, because she loves your letters. And Melissa will typically write back. All right, where is the picture? There it is. All right, so if you were to write to Melissa Calusinski, and you have to put her inmate number is R880 05 at Logan Correctional Center, P.O. Box 1000. It's Lincoln, yes. Lincoln, Illinois 62656. So that's how you could write to Melissa. If you want to email Melissa, you have to make an account at this GTL. Ooh, here, let me sign out. Yes, sign me out. Okay. You need to make an account here. So you would have to make an account there, and then you would have to select Melissa's prison and all that, and then you have to link up an account with it that will keep money on there. So, but emails are, so it costs me $4 for 20 credits, and each email is $1. So for me, or a credit. So for me to email Melissa is 1 credit, and then you can attach as many credits as you want to it. I always attach 1, so that pays for my email to her, and then for her to email me back. So, and then it'll let you know when you're getting low, and then you just select for them to take the $4 out. So could be a cheaper alternative than writing on a piece of paper, a letter to her and a stamp and all that, to do it by email. And she'll get your email faster than she would get something that goes through the mailroom. But you are limited to how many characters, how many, so it can't be a really long email. And then I would advise you, if you email her, that before you send it, copy it. Because there's times that I have written a letter and then hit send, and then all it did was log me out of the account, and you have to start all over again. So I've learned the hard way to now always copy my email before I send it. So if it logs me out, I can just paste it back in and send it and not have to rewrite the whole thing. Debbie says, if you write to Steven, can you send him? Nope, you cannot. You cannot do that, Debbie, because prisons want to make money off you. So you could put money into Steven's commissary for him to buy envelopes and stamps, but you can't send him anything. And for you to give them money, so all right, Melissa needs a new TV. And so she had told me a couple months ago she needed a new TV. And then she had told me a TV would cost $130. And she told me that her dad had some money that he was going to put on her account. But her dad doesn't do anything online. He doesn't know how to do any of this stuff or all that. So I had talked about it in a live. And so then that's when Miley put $50 in my GoFundMe. Not my GoFundMe. My PayPal. I don't have a GoFundMe because I'm not one of those people. So she put $50 in my PayPal. So then I matched her $50. So then I went to put $100 into Melissa's commissary. And for me to put $100 in her commissary, it cost me $5.65 is the charge on that. So then I paid the extra, $5.65 So Melissa would have exactly $100. Now, Melissa just emailed me the other day and said that her dad hasn't been able to get her the money. So, could I maybe go to her dad's house and go get the money from him so then I could send her money electronically so she could have it? So, I haven't talked to her dad or done that, but I did. So, on Friday or Saturday, I put another $100 in her account. And again, it's a $5.65 fee for me to just transfer money into Melissa's account. It doesn't cost $5.65 to do that, but it's another way the prison is making money off of people. But that should be now. Melissa has enough money to buy the new TV if she hasn't bought it. I don't know if she bought it already. Um, but I don't I don't have time right now to go to her dad's house. Her dad lives about 45 minutes away from me, and with my jobs right now, I don't have the time to go there to get the money. So I'm like, I'll just put another $100 on there right now, so I know it'll be, at least can cover her TV. So, but if you set up an account at that link, that Connect Network link, you could also put money directly into Melissa's commissary that way, through that. So, and Melissa can use it for whatever. She can put it on, her phone account for calling her parents, or for commissary, or we've talked about all this stuff before, but they really don't get that much stuff that provided to them. They have to buy shampoo and lotion and underwear. Yes, Debbie, they're robbing people blind. Absolutely. So they're stealing the inmates' time, their life, and then their loved ones back home. You're robbing them because they have to send this money. So their daughter can have soap, and they have to pay a fee on that for their daughter to be able to have soap. They do not supply you with tampons. Most young girls don't want to use a pad when they have their period. They want to use a tampon. The prison will only supply the grossest of pads that you don't want to have to use. So if you want to use a tampon during your period, you have to buy that yourself. It's not supplied to you. Sorry, people who don't want to hear things like that, but it's the truth. So that's Melissa. I know, it's sad, isn't it? So I strongly encourage you to watch Blaming Melissa and the Fight for Melissa. As I said at the beginning of this, you can go to Kathleen Zellner's site or just Google them to watch them. Or you can go into the videos here in MAM Gossip, because we've watched them and talked while we watched them before. If you ever have any questions on Melissa's case, feel free to ask. If anything I can answer, I gladly will. I know Melissa is innocent. We've got another live that will be coming up for Brendan's birthday. So not next Monday, but the Monday after that. So in 2 weeks, we'll be live here at the same time to discuss Brendan's case for his birthday. And prior to that, we'll do a live in here at some point to do more of the Brendan jail calls. It's been a while since we've done it. My life is just so freaking crazy right now. So, and I cannot do it this Wednesday. I've got 4 or 5 different things I have to do this Wednesday. So we'll be doing that soon. And so, but the 19th is Brendan's birthday. Feel free to send Brendan a birthday card. There is an event here in Gossip for that day. So RSVP to it so you get the reminder of what day that is. There is also Brendan's mailing address in that event. So you can send him a happy birthday wish in Oshkosh. And that puts us at an end for today's video. I am going to go and I'm going to color my hair. I have not colored my hair since COVID because I wanted to let the grays go. I don't know if you can even see the grays in this camera, but it's not doing anything fantastic. It's just kind of a blah. So I may be coloring my hair a crazy color. I guess you'll have to tune in to the next one to find out if I made my hair a crazy color and what it looks like. But thank you all for listening about the Melissa Calusinski case. This is a girl who is absolutely innocent. She is the sweetest thing, and she should be home. I don't know how long it would take from the UK, Debbie, but just send it anyway. I'm sure they're used to birthday cards and such getting there late. So just send it on off, and he'll love it whenever he's able to get it. So, all right, I'm off. Thank you for joining me. We'll talk on October 19th for Brendan's birthday, if not before. Keep advocating. Audrey's voting for pink. Keep advocating for the wrongfully accused. Have a good evening.